Hey, what's going on? Here we go. It's the Master Debater Show, and I want to get it right out of the way if I can. There's a lot of really big babies in the world, Scott, because you know what? I spent all fucking week booking people, and at the last minute, they want to cancel on us. I know this isn't good for Hollywood kind of stuff, but I want to be honest. Guys, we want you to come on here and have a debate and feel comfortable and safe. No one's going to beat you up. So we're going to have to figure this out, but we did have a couple cancellations. We scrambled. Who do we have on tonight's first round? Scott, you got Kat and Dewan, I think, right?
Right. So we have Kat and Dewan, but Kevin, I can't agree with you more. There's nothing worse than a keyboard warrior who doesn't want to show their face. It's really pathetic. And here we are providing an unbelievable platform, like you said, that's safe. And a bunch of babies.
I want to ask you, Michelle, has everyone been telling you they love this concept? Because I've been getting, I'm telling you, hundreds and hundreds of people saying, I love it. I can't wait to watch it. And there's people that are going to come on here right now expecting to see these healthy, robust, respectful debates. And because the panty wearing punk bitches can't get their asses out of their friggin' way because they're too worried about what? You're going to get beat up on social media, on a video. You want to go back to your table where you plug away while you're 380 pounds and you sit there plugging away, yelling at the world because you're a warrior on the keyboard? Fuck you. Sorry.
Yeah. No, listen, 100%. Well, let's get into our first debate for today.
There you go, Scott. I'm sorry. I'm done.
No, listen, we could go on and on. You know, Kev, we'll go on for an hour just to bitch about people. That's a good show,
I know.
bro.
And it's not their fault, the ones that are on the show today, but the Master Debaters is a great concept. This is going to work out, and I know it. I'm confident in it. I know what you're doing. We just got to work out the details, and it's going to be a huge thing. So, yeah, let's go to the first people. Go ahead, Scott.
All right. So we have Ultra MAGA Kat Ballou, and we have Dewan today.
Dewan is our. Listen, Scott, we got to give a special award to Dewan. Out of all the social activists in the country, this guy's willing to keep on coming back on and being a supporter of our, even though he argues with us. So thank you, Dewan, for coming on.
Thank you. We love having you. We love having
you. And Dewan always gets some good votes too. So it's good to have you back. I mean, you are showing your colors to be the master debater.
You are the master debater.
All right. So we're going to get into this debate. Here's the way the format works. You're going to be asked a question. You're each going to have 30 seconds to answer the question. We will be keeping time. So you'll answer the question. Then after that, we're going to give you a minute to battle it out one-on-one. Sound good?
Mm-hmm. And we strongly encourage everyone that's watching to please comment, give us your feedback, suggestions, whatever it is. We'd love to hear from you, and we want to know what we could do to change it, make it more interesting, get other people on. If you know anybody that wants to come on, please let them know and spread the word.
And the way it's going to work for voting today is in your comment. If you think Kat is the winner of the debate, you'll put a number 1 in the comments. And if you think Dewan is the winner, you'll put a number 2, and we'll let you know who wins the debate. So with that, Kevin, go ahead and fire away with your first question.
Well, I want to welcome both the contestants to the first round here. This is my show voice I'm trying to do. And Dewan back. And Kat, I want to welcome you to the show. I know highly respected. You're a big, huge fan of Donald Trump. You have the MAGA Kat title there. I want to start off with you in this question. The first question goes to you and Dewan in the first round. Obviously, this week has been jam-packed with lots and lots of news. And certainly the news that seems to be dominating has been between gun control and, well, I guess women's rights. When you look at this week, and let's start off with gun control. When you've seen some of the efforts to take away the Second Amendment rights of Americans, do you believe that the government needs to do more, possibly disarm Americans, and or only allow us to have 9mm style guns, which are obviously not what the president was supposed to be talking about? The question to you both is, should we have stronger gun laws in America? To you first, Kat.
I do not think that we need stronger gun laws. I the only way to stop a bad person with a gun is a good person with a gun. Half the politicians that are telling us which guns they want to ban don't even know what guns they're talking about. When Joe Biden gets up there and starts talking about 9mm rounds in a shotgun or ghost guns, he can't even tell you which parts of the gun have a serial number on them to make them a ghost gun. So I think that they should just stay out of it, and the Second Amendment shall not be infringed. I think it's pretty cut and dry. You look at cities like Chicago, New York.
All right, thanks, Kat. That was a great 30 seconds, and now we're going to bring it over to Dewan.
Well, in the United States, we have a unique problem in mass shootings. No other country has them, and we've had more in this year than we've had days. We're doing something wrong. And a good place to start would be to stop keeping our gun policies in the Wild West and make them like other nations that are like the United States. First world nations, as opposed to as if we live in a war zone, because we might just make this republic a war zone, and that's what I fear.
All right, excellent with your 30 seconds. So now what we're going to do is we're going to have you guys battle it out one-on-one. So, Kat, what do you think of what Dewan just said?
I agree that we're doing something wrong, but I don't think it's the guns that are the problem. I think it's mental health. I think it's not focusing on protecting our schools. I mean, you look at cities like Chicago that have some of the strictest gun laws in the country, and it is out of control. But nobody wants to talk about that. It's like,
well, Chicago doesn't live isn't in a desert. It's surrounded by other states that have very loose gun laws, and with the culture and problems of Chicago emanating from their corrupt police force back in the 80s, it's likely that you would have a problem like that in a place like Chicago. But we're talking at the national level here. Other nations don't have the same problem.
Taking away guns from law-abiding citizens isn't going to stop the gun problem.
It's not taking away guns from law-abiding citizens. This is regulating. By regulating, I mean putting in checks like you would have in other first world nations, where if someone beats their wife or is beating their significant other, showing that they're a significant risk, or just is not trainable with a gun. Or even someone is just clearly a danger because he's already writing hate literature, that person you come and look at them when they go and buy an AR-15.
That's mental health.
I mean, that's the bare minimum. And that honestly is something that it's a shame that our nation doesn't have, because we have it with cars and jobs.
Yeah, but Dewan, let me ask a question about this to both of you. And I'm going to go back to Dewan first, Kat, and you'll be able to respond. You guys are having a healthy debate. Dewan, do we need to enforce stronger laws? That's the question in America with gun control. Are you telling Kat that you want to take her guns away?
I don't want to take Kat's guns away as long as she's not like beating her husband or threatening to shoot her husband. She hasn't been consistently threatening other people. She hasn't proven to be a danger to others. And she's been following the laws of this great nation.
Okay, so you're getting some questions here, Scott. I don't know if you and Michelle want to jump in.
We are. So actually, we have someone says, what about restricting mentally unstable people from getting a gun? For example, the Parkland shooter had been reported to the FBI by his aunt, right? And look, I think Dewan has a really valid point when it comes to the regulations and things like that. Like Kat, I mean, he said he wouldn't take your guns away, right? The problem is, like anything else, where do you draw the line, right? At what point do you say, what is someone who's mentally ill? Does it have to be the person who is in a therapist and has made threats? Is it someone, if you're just taking an antidepressant, does that mean that if you're on antidepressants and they do a prescription check, well, okay, you can't get a gun. There's plenty of people, for example, who take antidepressants or anti-anxiety every day, but that doesn't mean that they're going to go shoot up a school.
And right? People that have like my mental disorder, they have to take their medicine every day, but that's what makes them stable.
Okay, so then at what point though?
Who's monitoring that?
Who monitors that?
Yeah.
right?
And honestly, other nations have done this. I was reading that I think it was Norway. They would have, or it was Canada actually. They would go and ask at least 7 people that knew you whether you should have a gun, and just get a basic idea of your character before allowing you to have a mass killing device, especially an AR-15, because that is similar to the M16A2 service rifle. That thing is designed to massacre massive amounts of people.
Kat, would you support taking AR-15s, or not AR-15s, but any of those long rifles that Dewan is talking about? Would you support getting rid of those just to keep maybe the smaller caliber? Or Kat, are you strongly against any of that?
I'm strongly against any of that. I mean, it's
Why?
just,
Why?
because bottom line, because our government and other governments have those weapons.
Our government has drones and nukes.
Look at
Did I have
Australia.
those?
Look at Australia. They took all the guns away, and the government has taken over that country. I mean, they literally welded people's doors shut in other countries because they couldn't fight back during COVID, to stand up and do anything. And it's like, if our government takes our guns, we've got no way to defend ourselves. And just because you have an AR-15 doesn't mean you're out killing massive numbers of people.
I hate to tell you this, but even with an AR-15, the government's going to beat you in a gunfight.
They're going to have a harder time.
So, Kat,
not with their drones. They don't need to even be in your vicinity. They can blow you up from a mile away. It's the government.
We have a question for Kat from one of the users, one of our viewers.
They're probably users, Scott. I mean,
Right.
watching.
So please ask Kat if she made a gun that was capable of firing multiple rounds and was the gun of choice for serial killers, would Kat continue to make them?
What?
If Kat, if you were the manufacturer of a gun that was capable of firing multiple rounds and was the gun of choice for serial killers, would you continue to manufacture?
I think what Pat's saying, Kat, and I know Pat well, so I'm going to say that he's trying to say the gun manufacturers are manufacturing these long rifles, are being used, and I don't want to speak for him, but this is what I'm getting from it. They are the weapon of choice in these gun shootings. Do you think, and that's what he's trying to get to, you want to ban them? Because that's what he's asking, like with serial killers.
I don't support bans of any kind. It's like people.
Anything goes. Anything goes, Kat. Anything goes.
Well, I mean, yes and no. People use knives, to kill people. People use, all the different.
So I can buy a nuke in your country, right?
If you are able to, if you're capable of handling it, yes. I totally agree with your point that we should have restrictions and there should be mental health background checks. And I definitely, they should flag people. It's like the shooter in Uvalde. I mean, they knew about that guy for months and nobody did anything.
There's also something that we've not really entertained, but the FBI entertained when it introduced the concept of BIEs after the 2 shootings in Dallas and Boca Raton. There could be left-wing or
pressure cookers do a hell of a job,
or Al-Qaeda members that use our lax gun laws to stage attacks even worse than the ones that we're already experiencing from white nationalist groups.
Just for the record, too,
and other people,
guys, Lucas Johnson chimed. I want to get you guys going on this because Lucas Johnson, a young 18-year-old patriot here from Connecticut, said AR-15s or other long rifles are used in less than 3% of all the firearm homicides. So to Pat's point and to Kat's point, Kat, you seem to be on the right side of this debate because weapons that are being used in these attacks, they're very isolating. They're less than, like I said, 3% of actual all firearm uses. Dewan, when you talk about wanting to take guns, do you mean every gun? Do you want to go right back to muskets with these guys? Is that where you want to go, Dewan? Do you want to go back to maybe we have to black powder, fill the weapon before we shoot it? And how would we then, to both of you, start with Dewan first, how can Americans defend against a government if they try to take First Amendment or anything else away from us? Dewan, first to you on that.
The United States doesn't have the gun culture that would allow for anyone to really take guns away. I mean, the best we could hope for is that we stick to people having pop guns that are designed for basic defense as opposed to guns that are designed for mass killing. As for how can we arm ourselves to beat the United States government into submission if it ever was to decide to oppress us, I think you've not paid attention to our military hardware if you honestly think that you could beat that anybody with a pop gun could beat the United States military and take down this country. That's just not going to happen. The United States is going to win hands down.
See,
So, Kat,
we need to be able to defend ourselves. I mean, whether it's against the government or against, I mean, any other person that's coming in to try and attack you or, take your property or, harm you. Handguns are more deadly or used more in deadly shootings than the AR-15s and the assault rifles, whatever that is, that the government wants to take away. And I think once you start banning anything, it's like a slippery slope. I mean, you start banning one thing, you're going to start banning something else. And
well, we're the only nation that experiences these horrific shootings at this rate. So honestly, it's time to do something. And slippery slope, you're slippery sloping one way. We've ran into the slippery slope of having more mass shootings than we have days in a year. And people and serial killers thinking it's a good idea to go to an elementary school, grab an AR-15, and blast all up the class because it's an easy kill zone. It's time to do something more commonsensical.
Protect the schools. There's more security in a bank or a social security.
Oh, there was plenty of security. That was one of 40% of their budget went to the police force that was there. It's just they were too afraid of the gun the gentleman had because the gentleman was deadly and had the advantage of initiative.
Then that's the problem. It's not the gun's fault. It's the fact that
that is the nature of the weapon. Actually, that is the weapon's fault because the weapon is designed to be an air-cooled point of sight aim that refires and responds rapidly. That's why they were afraid. If you have someone with that kind of weapon, you're gonna blast that motherfucker dead.
If he
go ahead, Scott,
with someone that's armed and trained, or hadn't been able to get into school in the first place.
It doesn't take much training to use a rifle that is designed to that weighs like a feather, and you can points right where you hit it.
Well,
all you have to do is learn to pause your breath at the right moment.
This is where, Scott, we can jump in anytime and take and guys stay there, fired up. But you see what's coming in right now. We got Norway from Kathy Smith.
And you know what? I
mean, talk about it.
These people on the comments, they should be on the show.
Yeah, these people should be.
I know.
Fired up.
Where are you guys? We need them, man.
You know what?
David, Pat,
I'm gonna
get on the show.
I'm gonna make a comment here, right? And I'm totally gonna shit stir right here, right? It's like it's the weapon. It's not the weapon that kills people. It's the person firing the weapon, right? The same way I would tell my teacher, well, no, it was my pencil that failed the test, right?
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly.
It was my
no responsibility in the world today. It doesn't seem that way. Now, Dewan and Kat, you guys, I think, are doing a magnificent job. You guys are definitely hitting the points here. People are commenting like crazy, by the way. There's a lot of great supportive comments for both of you. I want to kind of twist it up, though, if we could, just because shootings in America have become more prevalent. I think we all admit that. Kat, would you agree?
Yes.
And I mean, everyone on this panel, and including Dewan. But what we've seen is a really ignoring of mental health. And Dewan, I'm not trying to put you out here, but you often talk about it. Do we put enough into mental health? Kat, do you want people to do background checks? Because this is a big question, and people always fight it. Do you want universal background checks? First to you, Kat, on the question of Second Amendment rights.
I have no problem with background checks. I mean, it's like I have family members with mental health issues, and it's like, I mean, I'm not sure whether they should have a gun or not. And it's when you hear somebody that clearly has a mental health issue, yes, there should be a background check. You should make sure that it's okay for them to handle that weapon and that they're not going to fly off the handle. I mean, I have bad days just like everybody else, but I don't agree with like my neighbors being upset because I fly an American flag or, a Gadsden flag and calling the cops to come do a red flag on me. And that's, I think.
Oh, guess the Gadsden flag is over.
Yeah, no. She had her 30 seconds, so she gets cut off. Your turn.
Is the question redirected to me? What do I do next?
Yeah, questions redirected at you.
What was it?
It was on mental health, Dewan. Mental health.
Mental health.
Mental
Dewan.
health. Yes, we
Yeah, and
definitely need to
doing
put more into mental health, and I'm glad that we are in complete agreement when it comes to the necessity of background checks and getting those done. It's just I hope that you're ready for that. Maybe an increase in government. The government is going to have to get a bit bigger in order to enforce these laws. And I know that might be something you would not like to see.
Mm-mm. No, I don't like the idea of the government getting bigger.
Come on, Kat.
I don't like the idea of the. I'm thrilled that you and I are finding more common ground than one would expect. I mean, it's like I said, I respect you. I've voted for you several times previously, but it's
Thank you.
I think it's some of the minute details that we disagree on, and it's like I don't like a bigger government. I think the government's control should be limited and it should be left up more to the people in the states.
Now, what's very interesting, and we've said this so many times on the show, all of us, is how no matter what side you're on, every single time we do these debates, there's some middle ground. And that's
Exactly.
something, and that is something for everybody out there to realize. And that's one of the biggest reasons that we do this show as well, is because unless you're a complete extremist, there is a middle ground. And it's amazing because politics, in my opinion, has really come into the mainstream household in America really during the Trump-Hillary debates, right? And people were tuned in for entertainment purposes as well. But you never really had, and yes, social media is a big part of it, right? But you never really went out to dinner 15 20 years ago, right? 30 years ago, and like sat around a table and talked about politics. Now it's the topic of every meal, right? I mean, am I wrong?
no, you're right. You're
And
right.
and social media certainly exacerbates that. But the thing is that the way that the media drives the conversation, the media forces us to be so against one another, no matter what side you're on. And when the reality of it is that we're really all closer to understanding each other than the media makes us all believe.
I agree. But you know what, Scott? I want to get these guys to disagree a few more. I got a few more questions for them.
Let's go.
All right, so there you go. Listen, this week was jam packed. That we said Second Amendment issues are always going to be top of the priority list going into an election year. Clearly, nothing is bigger in the country. And Michelle, you and I and Scott have talked about it. Roe versus Wade. This is a very huge, distinct change in the future of America. I mean, this is, when I ran for office, for example, folks, I used to use the word codified. It was such a safe word to use for Republicans. That word is no longer there. It's going back to the states. First to you, Kat, because it does affect women. Do you believe this is the right move with Roe versus Wade? Dewan, you'll be up next.
Absolutely. I'm thrilled that it's going back to the states because there's women out there protesting right now wearing T-shirts that say I've had 21 abortions. Now that's not health care. That's not. I mean, that's insane. That's like taxpayers are supporting serial killers. I believe it or not, I'm pro-choice with limits. They talk about killing babies while you're in labor. When you're in labor, as the baby's coming out, you can decide whether you want to keep it or not. No, that's murder. There's on Mars they find an amoeba, and that's life. But you've got people that say that the baby growing inside you doesn't count as life. No, I'm thrilled because states like California, New York, the places where they're protesting, they're never going to ban abortion. And this bullshit that the media is feeding us about, that Roe versus Wade being overturned has banned it across the country. That's not true. I mean, there's still states that will have legal abortion, and states that'll have limits, and states that are just going to let it go hog wild. And it's I'm thrilled that it has finally been overturned after 50 years.
Yeah, Roe being overturned has allowed some states that already have massive problems to take what should be a medical procedure and politicize it to the point where they can control a woman's body. It's sad that we've gotten to this point. The states will be the incubators, and I just hope that we agree upon the facts when the recompense comes in the form of children that are living lives that are a lot worse than death would be. Because if in the end what we want to do, we're not too far afield when we turn around and accept the fact that what we want is to stop the conditions that make abortions necessary.
But it
And
shouldn't just be a choice. I mean, you've got 3 months once you get pregnant. I mean, I'll go 12 weeks, 15 weeks at the outside. When there are instances where, rape, incest, I mean, where I can see, but using it as birth control or deciding at at 9 months that, well, I just decided I don't want it. I mean, that's murder. That is
when
a
you
living
start talking
person.
about the definition of a life, you're talking about a religious uh, kind of statute or a religious way of looking, and our country isn't
When
necessarily
do you
designed
think?
for
When do
that.
you
I
think?
don't
I mean,
think.
it's like but it's so. When does life begin? That's a deep question. But at 9 months or in the third trimester, that baby can live outside the woman's body.
Being
And
someone who doesn't have the foresight of God, I don't know when to declare something as life. Generally, I would say when it can survive on its own.
and that's like in the third trimester. Second trimester, they have a heartbeat. And I don't think
Again,
abortion should be used as a form of birth control.
but in some states they're not allowing the procedure at all. This means that it's not just about being used as a form of birth control. It's about whether you didn't report your rape fast enough. It's about whether you were too afraid or didn't speak up on that case of incest too much. So it's about a whole different ballpark than just
Dewan,
those
I want to ask a
particular
question. Let me
legislators.
throw this question back into you guys, and you're having a great back and forth, a lot of great comments. This week I had YG Nightstorm. He actually ran for Congress down in Georgia. He was on the show, and he talked about how amazing this turn was because he fought his whole life. And he brought up a fact I never knew until I looked at it after he told me. Since Roe versus Wade has been enacted, over 20 plus million young black babies have been put down. 20 million. Now, when you look at a percentage of the population at 13%, we're about 26%, almost 30% of the population would be different if we had not had that available for, especially as Kat says, is it an excuse for maybe having a bad night that you regret? I don't know. The question first goes to Dewan. Do you think that if it was different, it would have had a major impact on the brown and tan skin communities across this country if we did not have Roe versus Wade?
I'm not certain. I honestly just don't know enough about the numbers. I do know that there were euthanasia. They did try to use abortion as a way of limiting African Americans and their population, and to some extent, I do get where this concern lies there. I just honestly don't know enough about it.
Kat, what do you think about that when you hear that? I mean, obviously, Dewan says in his own words that he believes there's some truth to it, but yet we're living in 2022. We know the past has been this way. Do you feel like we'd be in a different world, especially with race relations, if that 20 more million people would have been given the chance to live?
Yes, I mean, as far as race relations, that's a whole nother discussion. But
y'all are already freaked. I just want to say, like, on a real note, y'all are already freaking out because we might outnumber you in a little bit. What if we already outnumbered you? You think it ain't gonna get wild?
Wouldn't that be a good thing, though, Dewan?
So we have.
Wait a minute. Two words. Margaret Sanger. She started Planned Parenthood, and she put them in black neighborhoods on purpose because she believed in eugenics and trying to abolish the black race.
This is true.
So, yes, there would be more black people, And I don't have a problem with that. I mean, it's in the inner cities, and you put, more people in the inner cities with, more problems, uh, that need to be dealt with, then that's a whole nother issue. But putting the Planned Parenthood in there and saying, if you just get an abortion and we'll just wipe out more people, that I'm not okay with that.
That's my thing, though, with the Republican Party, where I think they seriously miss an opportunity, is they don't focus as much on what it's like for that baby in the first year of life as opposed to the last trimester. And if they were to focus more on the things that are necessary for the first year of life, they would see probably a lot of people flock away from the other party.
See, I don't see that as a Republican and a Democrat thing. I see that as, a politician.
Oh, the Democratic Party doesn't do much better, but they give it some lip service.
Does women's choice make a difference to you, Kat? And I'll go to you, Dewan. Are women being denied choice in this situation, in your opinion, Kat?
I don't know. I don't believe they're being denied choice. In some states, maybe, but it's not an issue of women's health care. There's rare instances where it might affect the woman's health. But like I said, there's people that use it as a form of birth control. I think there should be, say, three abortions in, 3 years. You should be required to wear some kind of birth control embedded, what is it, the Norplant? As a birth control, and have to have like a court order to have it taken out. You can't just have abortions left and right because you keep getting pregnant. That's that's murder.
Would you concur with that, Dewan?
I get that it would be better if they would use a condom and stuff, but there are situations. Honestly, when I'm sitting over here, and I think we have to parse through the numbers. I'm looking at emergency situations that would be more what a doctor has to deal with. Sometimes the life situations are such that they're so bad, but we have so few reporting and recording mechanisms to stop those situations that are dangerous, where there could even be a dangerous spouse or sexual partner, and they can't report in time, and you need to have the abortion for that. And I think it's kind of a shame that in a lot of places where, moving from one state to another is not easy. And moving from a red state to a blue state where the cultures are slightly different is also not easy. I've done it. I'm telling you, it's a culture shock. We can't just say do that to these people who are often in very bad and dire situations.
And that, once again, we can find a common ground. It's I agree. There are instances, there's situations that babies shouldn't be brought into one way or another, and I respect a woman's decision. It can't be easy. I can't imagine it being easy, but there are people that seem to make it really easy, and that's where I have a problem.
At the end of the day, Kat, you support this decision. Dewan, you don't support this ruling from the Supreme Court. Is that correct?
No, not at all. I think it's activist. It's a lot of overstepping from the Supreme Court that's going to aid in radicalizing a lot of people in arguing in the streets and arguing in the ballot box, maybe stopping that potential Republican sweep that everyone was expecting.
I don't see it that way. I think there's other
That's
issues.
what happened in 2018.
Kat, how do you see it, Kat? How do you see it, Kat?
If abortion is the only thing you're voting on, with the economy and the gas prices and the southern border and everything out of control the way it is.
For someone on the left, it's not abortion. It's about whether it's a woman's body. And if you're voting on whether it's my body, if I were a woman and I was voting on whether the government has its rights to put its hands on my body, I would be quite radicalized and quite ready to vote on that issue.
People that have been forcing us to get vaccine and for the past 2 years, losing your job.
Vaccines kept me alive and healthy. I'm sitting over here. Woo! I got that silver medal from kicking some butt.
I'm alive and healthy, and there's none. Those vaccines are not touching my body, and I'm not anti-vax. I just want. There are too many side effects. There's too much going on that they're not telling us. So the same people.
So let and then Scott, you want to get on in here? We got a great debate going on tonight between Kat and. What's your thoughts, Scott, about us going into the debate
Boosters.
about talking about the next round would be about vaccination and all centered around that? And let's see what these two great characters think about that. Bring them on back.
Yeah, I think so. And you
Do
know
we have
what?
any comments?
Yeah,
to,
and
go
that's
through?
what I was just gonna say. I mean, we have some comments here. We have this reversal on Roe versus Wade was inevitable, considering they will be needed less because the vaccines are making people infertile. This will make people not question why clinics are vanishing. Then we have a My Body, My Choice. We have someone who said word.
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 What's with the Facebook user? They're
Yeah,
incognito.
no.
I
So-
know those are the turds that don't want to be known. They're turds. They're not words. They're turds.
Sorry if that's who you are. We
You're a
don't know.
turd if you don't want to be known. Hey, you know what's funny though, Michelle? You and I talked about this with Scott before, and we want to bring the two contestants back on because they're the show. But you know what we did say? It's a shame in the kind of world we live in 2022 that science can't provide men with a contraceptive that they can take, swallow a pill and do something. Come on, we can send people to Mars. Figure it out, guys, because that might be one less thing we have to worry about. Scott, what do you want to go with this debate today?
Yeah, I think. Listen, I think the vaccine is a good one. It's an oldie but goodie, right?
Always a goodie.
Always a goodie. Been around for a long time. Let's bring them
All
back.
right, let's go back to it. All right, here we go. We're bringing. Do you have Bruce in the back still?
I do have Bruce.
You know what? We should bring Bruce in and get him into this. You want to bring him in? Just let him jump in because
Yeah,
he's been
let's
sitting
bring
there the whole time. And this is Bruce McKinnon, guys. I want to welcome him to the this great show, The Master Debaters. Bruce, how are you? And where are you actually calling in from?
We hear clapping.
We hear
Tennessee.
clicking from Bruce.
You're down in Tennessee? Yep. It looks like you might have a bad signal, Scott. I don't know what you got going on over there.
Yeah, well, no. He keeps going in and out of the room, so it looks like he's sitting outside, and he probably has bad Wi-Fi.
Yeah. All right. Well, you know what, Bruce? When we get better Wi-Fi, we'll come back to you. Let's go to the contestants tonight. Kat and to Dewan. Kat, you brought it up, so we're going to go there. The mandates, the reaction by government and America and the world to COVID. First and foremost, where did COVID come from? That's the first question I'm going to throw out there. Where did COVID come from? And we're going to go to Dewan because the way he raised his eyebrows right there, it was almost like a child that has a secret to tell. Dewan, where did it come from?
COVID, the COVID-19 part from that originated in Wuhan, China, was actually a kind of predictable virus in that we knew that a COVID-like virus would pop out in like the 70s, and there was an understanding of what kind of precautions needed to be taken. That's why it's kind of like it was a shame that it did as much damage as it did, because it was a lot of it could have been stopped by actually low cost means. We could have lost a lot less people. We should be ashamed.
Oh, 30 seconds. It came from a U.S. government funded lab in China. Fauci's as much as admitted it, that it's not like, I mean, what Dewan was saying, that we knew it was going to be there. I mean, yeah, we knew it was going to be there because we were doing tests on it. You know, it was just a matter of time before it escaped. There's God knows how many other viruses that they're testing on right now that it's just a matter of time before they escape. I think our government did a piss poor job of dealing with it, and a lot of people died, including my dad, because of COVID.
It's basically the cold evolved. I mean, it's and I'm just saying evolution is just a much more simple explanation for it than
they were
than a
testing
military explanation, because it would be such a weak military weapon in comparison. I mean, if you were really going to make a military grade attack, it would be a lot more significant, and we would have felt it a lot worse than what we did feel.
Well, even that small virus sure affected the populations in the entire world. I mean, it shut everything down. It changed economies. You know, look at what it did to us. You know,
Hey, I'm a leftist. I have no problem with thinking the government's evil enough to poison us. But I'm just saying it's just an easier explanation, as in it's more parsimonious
See,
to
I'm not
look at
I'm
it
not
and just say
more
it
right. I'm
evolved from what we
directly first.
naturally have.
Dewan, I appreciate you saying that and your sense of, and I want to ask this question in regards to COVID and in the beginning to it. It's obviously well known that the Black men and women of this country, the African American folks of this country understand they don't trust government. I mean, I have enough friends in my life that tell me historically, but yet in this situation, it was so seemed politicized. And Kat, you're going to get your turn, so you just get ready to go and blast. But how badly was it politicized? In my the question I'm going to frame to you, Dewan, and to Kat. Dewan, you first. Was it used as a political weapon? COVID. Period. Answer the question, Dewan.
It was the oddest culture war issue ever, because you had people walking around and saying that they were going to die if they wore a mask when my wife wears 2 masks every day. It was really sad as a country that happened.
Absolutely, it was used as a political weapon. I mean, it changed an election one way or another. Um, the whole thing with the masks. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask, wear 2 masks. Get 4 or 5 boosters. That's and then saying that the vax is going to protect you when it doesn't. There's healthcare workers that were dying even though they were wearing masks. There's people on the streets that are still wearing masks, driving in their cars wearing masks, and
I'm one of them.
it's totally it's totally a political tool. Oh. Go, Dwan.
No, I agree. It was a political tool. It's just it was such a stupid one. It makes us look
Scott,
bad
did you
to
hear?
have
Wait,
that stupid a
guys,
tool
wait a
to
second.
use
Scott,
against
did you
us.
hear him say he wears a mask in his car?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What the hell are you doing? Wait a minute. Time out on the field. We need to get one of those noises like a crazy alarm. Go on. You do not drive in your car with a mask on, do you?
No, I don't. I keep one in the car though, just in case the place says you have to have a mask.
All right.
And I'll just wear the mask instead.
I went into a store last week, right? And I'm a piano player, and I was just going in and looking at the pianos and stuff like that. I was killing some time, and they had this huge sign on the door, and it said, "It doesn't matter what the CDC says, whatever. Masks must be worn at all times in this store." And I'm thinking to myself, are they really going to tell me that I have to put a mask on if there's the potential that a customer, I wasn't buying a piano.
It's just a mask, man. You can save a life.
Listen.
It's just a mask.
Listen, it's not going to save my life. I'm like, okay, if I have
They've been doing it in Japan forever.
Where was that earlier? My body, my choice.
Oh, there you go. Hey, go right into it, you two. We go ahead, Dewan, answer.
I'm fine with that. We can get rid of masks, but you have to let abortion go.
No, not going there.
That's logical consistency. You got to let one
go. If you want to wear a mask and it makes you feel better, go for it. It's like, so our local Costco here, you walk in the building, there's no masks. Everybody's walking through the whole store, no mask law, no rules, no nothing. Everybody, they've got the little tables where you can get the food, but you walk all the way through the store to the pharmacy, and to walk 2 feet up to the pharmacy to pick up a prescription, you have to put a mask on. There's a big sign that you have to put your mask on to walk up to the pharmacy. And then as soon as you turn around to walk away, you can take your mask off and walk all the way back through the store again, and you're fine. So apparently that little 2-foot space is the only place in the store you can catch COVID. It's the hypocrisy, and it just doesn't, if it makes sense, it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, that's just.
Well, the difference is that the medical community is currently acting as if we're still under pandemic, because we kind of are. And the rest of us have lost the political battle of wearing a mask. People just aren't going to do it anymore.
If you want to wear one, go for it. I know people that wear masks on a daily basis, and they've gotten COVID. They've gotten every one of their shots, and they've gotten COVID.
The thing about masks is it's one of those things where like everyone had to kind of help each other out and not screw each other over, and it's with that cat's like out of the bag now. So
so let's talk about this.
We did all band together, but
Kat, when you're saying that, I think Dewan too. Was the mandate of the shot, in your opinion, right now? Dewan, you talked about your body, your choice, and Kat's going to bring it back to you. So be prepared, because we've seen requirements to go to school to keep employment in New York City, for example. They fired firemen and police officers, and we saw for the first time in America in a very long time, Black Lives Matters doing marches with firemen and cops who were losing their jobs in New York City streets for losing their fight against the vaccination mandate. Kat, to you first. Do you think the requirements of the jab were right?
No, absolutely not. Again, like I said, my body, my choice. I am not anti-vax. I mean, I get my flu shot every year, but there are too many unknowns with this vaccine for somebody that's sitting in Washington, D.C. to order the entire country to get a vax. I have a good friend who is a scientist and a world-renowned author and speaker. She bought into the bullshit and got all 4 of her vaccines. And about 2 days after her last vaccine, she started experiencing debilitating vertigo to the point that she now has to shut her business down because she can't drive. She on a daily basis, she finds herself curled up on the floor. And she says it's because of the 4th vaccine that she got.
Yeah.
And they want to give this to babies and kids. They don't know what it can do to you.
It's big pharma, big money. That's what
it
it
might
is.
work for
Follow
one
the
person,
money.
it might kill the
We've
next.
done this with measles, mumps, rubella. It's the same reason we homogenize milk. Sometimes you have to take the shot for the public good, basically. And it became
not
such a
true, though.
political issue when the
What
science
about all the
was
people
pretty
that are
good behind
vaccinated?
the shot. And as far as I've seen, I mean, if we're going anecdotally, my kids are fun. They've had the shot. I mean, it's just it has been tested.
For what?
You've got to
6
work
months?
towards the public good in order to maintain a society. It's one of the just basic rules of society. And when we're
You
talking
don't
like
have to order
measles,
the
mumps,
entire
rubella,
population to take a
I
vaccine.
gotta jump in here.
an
I gotta
impending
jump in
deadly
here.
virus, then you've got to do your part.
When
This
you
is-
get
Go
the
ahead, Michelle.
measles or you
Yeah.
get the polio
Let's see,
vaccine,
guys. Let's hear
you don't
Michelle
have
quick.
polio.
This fires me up because I have a son who's in college up in Buffalo and was required to get the jab and got the jab and probably had COVID 3 times already. And I'm not talking about a sniffle. I'm talking about it lasted for 6 months. Coughing, upper respiratory infection. I'm sure that if he wasn't jabbed, he'd be just fine. Okay, and a million of our friends. So there's no science
still
out there.
coughing.
He's still coughing. Okay, he's home for summer, and there's no science out there reassuring us that we're all going to be fine from it. So until then, no jab.
And-
Sorry.
And by the way, I don't know if you all noticed, but I've been popping up some of the comments here on the screen.
Yeah.
So here's one for you, Kat, from from Patrick. You can read it.
What? That's a lot of words.
Pat's typing away.
Dang.
But no, I mean, I'm not one of those people. It's like, it's like, do you pay attention to the Asian people? It's like, I don't care.
Yeah, look.
I don't care whether they're Asian, black, pink, green, whatever. I judge people on the content of their character. Sorry, but I know that's not politically correct, but that's me. So it's like,
Yeah.
and if you want to wear a mask,
Cicero.
if you want to wear a mask,
I'll
wear a
consider
mask.
Canada.
Don't force me
You
to
do
wear
what
a
makes
mask.
you feel comfortable.
Hey, Scott, put up the comment from Kathy Smith about Dewan.
Yeah, I did. I said, yeah, look. Yeah.
Did you put it up?
If I got
Dewan, they
5
want you to go to Canada, brother.
I've already came so far north. Why do I need to go much further north?
Dewan, to your point, if I got 5 polio shots and got polio, I'd be questioning that vaccine too. No,
I
it's
get
not
it, and
just
I understand that the
it's like-
news sources emphasize different stories and everything else, and I understand what's going on when it comes to the way that people on the right view this. It's just from the left perspective, this is like basic common good, basic biology. It's kind of hard to argue. We don't so mistrust the science that we just think that they're
I do.
lying when they put it together.
I do.
They're definitely lying.
So when
by
you
the
talk
way-
about science,
By the way, Kevin, We
Yep.
have 3 minutes left. I want to see
Yep.
if we could get Bruce on here to see if his Wi-Fi is any better.
Bruce, are you there? Bruce?
Yeah, see, he keeps his. It goes in and out.
Frozen.
We'll get Bruce next time. We're
Yeah.
gonna coordinate. I think tonight's event is these two rock stars right here. I want to thank Kat and Dewan. And I got to be honest with you. I think if we have 3 minutes, we should give them both a minute each, right, to sort of get their shit off. And maybe Kat, pick on Dewan a little bit, and Dewan, you pick on Kat a little bit. Don't make it so nice. Go ahead. Go ahead, Kat. Fire away.
Total respect for Dwan. I mean, I've watched
Oh,
him
that's
a few times
bullshit.
on here.
Tell him
I'm
how you
just
really
saying,
feel.
but I mean,
Right.
the answer to all of our arguments today. I mean, we've met on common ground, and I think that minute details are a little bit different. But I mean, my thing, my body, my choice, and the government needs to not try and restrict what I do with my life. I mean, there's a constitution, and there's an American flag, and there's a reason that I support that. I mean, America first. And I don't think.
And you want to throw in a Trump? You want to throw in Trump too?
Hey, whether it's Trump, DeSantis, I mean, it's like I said, it's America first. Trump just happens to be the face of it. But
Very good, Dewan. Your thoughts closing it out.
Well, America First, the first time was an aid and comfort to the Nazis, and I imagine the second time it'll find its way to being such. It's just a
Dewan.
matter of how history judges it. But when we look into the future, and that's the difference a lot of times when we look into these parties. Well, not parties. We don't have parties that actually represent what we're looking for. When we look for ideas towards the future, a lot of times we're going to run into things that we're uncomfortable with. And I think I think that we have to be prepared to be uncomfortable if we live in a democratic republic.
Mhm.
Part of it is being uncomfortable very frequently from the liberties that other people have when you look outside of your fence.
But we live
All
in
right.
this is a constitutional republic. This is not a democracy that we live in.
I keep saying
And on that
democratic
note-
republic. I'm aware.
On that note,
There it is. Thank you, both of you guys. We'll let you know who the winners are. Dewan and Kat. Scott, it wasn't exactly the way it planned, but it worked out really well. I thought it was a great show.
yeah, it worked out
Great
great.
show.
Great show. And I
By
have
both of them. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, and I have to say, it was pretty neck and neck as far as the votes. Any last minute votes, you want to get them in there? You vote 1 for Kat, 2 for Dewan. I did see some 2s. I saw some 1s. I mean, it was pretty even across the board. But as we close this out here, feel free to put your votes in. But it was pretty even.
Yeah, I got a couple of shout outs too. Shout out to my friend Val, to everybody that's been on there commenting, to Texas Toast, you know who you are, Robin, who will be on the show hopefully one day, and of course Kat, Dewan, and Bruce. I don't know what happened to Bruce today.
Yeah, we'll have to
Maybe
get it
next
figured out.
time.
And
So
by
we
the
might
way,
have we might have some changes, Scott. You want to talk about that quick?
Yeah. So we may be going over to Monday evenings at 8 p.m. So Mondays, 8 p.m. And
Seems
by
to be
the
a better
way,
time.
yeah, I think it'll be a better time rather than Sundays. So
Right.
we're going to try it out next week. So there won't be a show next Sunday. It'll actually be 8 days from now, right? So Monday, we'll get that posted. And by the way, depending upon how you're viewing the show, because we use a platform called Restream to put this out on multiple platforms. And Kevin, I don't know if you're aware of this as well. Sometimes if you don't have like a certain plugin on your browser, it'll show as Facebook user. So it just does it
That's
automatically.
for Val. She didn't know how to
Gotcha.
change her
Yeah,
name,
so there's a lot of people who, when we see Facebook user, it just depends on the browser they're using and how Restream picks it up. So it's not like they're really trying to hide their
Right,
identity.
I understand that now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it sounded better when me and Michelle were picking on him. Though. I
Yes,
like that.
definitely. It definitely sounded better. So we thank all the contestants and all of our viewers. If you want to be on the show, get in touch with us, either private message on Facebook. You can email Kevin at themasterdebaters.net. Again, Kevin at themasterdebaters.net. or you can go fill out our form on our website, themasterdebaters.net. But you have your chance to be a master debater.
And Kevin, you're a rock star. Thank you for all you do. You're great.
No, listen, you heard me earlier. I was like one of those videos that surface, on the complaining prima donna guy. That's how I was acting tonight.
That's all
Let's be
right.
real. But I want to say this parting ways. Thank you for what you're doing. You guys are amazing. I'm glad we're doing this. This is going to work. It's going to catch on, and it's going to get a lot of attention because we want the people out there to come to us and
Yes.
settle these issues. Don't go to your Facebook pages and argue with your enemies that are there. Bring them onto this platform. Heck, we'll dedicate a whole show if it's juicy enough. Bring us two people that argue all the time. You guys can have an argument right here, and we'll give you a platform to do it on. Great show, guys.
Absolutely. Great show. All right, everybody.
Enjoy the rest of your
We'll see you
Sunday
guys.
night.
Take care.
Take care.